Hello friends, welcome to our YouTube channel. In my last video I took a use cases and in that use cases what I explained that Datapower is working as a HTTPS server, and we have a client SOAP-UI and we have destination server. But while doing this use case we face a small issue, so I'll tell you how we can debug that issue, and then we'll go to next case. In next use case what we'll have a SOAP client. In that SOAP UI, in our case client is SOAP UI, then we will have Datapower. In the Datapower we are using HTTP now. For this use case Datapower will be on HTTP, okay, and the destination server it on HTTPS. Actually in my use case destination server is HTTPS, but since they didn't enable the client authentication, means they are not validating your Datapower certificate, but in real scenario you will find a use case where they'll validate your server certificate as well. So I'll show you in both cases if we are enabling the validation credential, what we'll see in the logs and how the SSL handshake will work there. So first let's discuss the last issue. Okay, so our last issue was when we were trying to initiate the request from SOAP UI, it was not working. So let's see, we were getting the bad certificate, like SSL handshake exception, received a fatal alert bad certificate. So prior to discuss this thing, I want to discuss one more thing. When we will do communicate with the server, first it will validate the TLS version. This version will not match, it will give you error. So let's discuss this thing first, because many times we face this issue that client and server both have a different kind of version, like say client on SSL and but server is on TLS, or the vice versa. So at that time we can get the TLS version mismatch. So better if you are facing any such kind of issue, better you shall keep the low category as debug. So in the debug you can easily find out that it's failing with the TLS version, and if your low category is not debug, maybe you will not able to find the root cause why it's failing. You may get SSL client SSL handshake failure, but you are unable to find out why it's failing. So there could be multiple reasons to failure of the SSL handshake. So I'll show you one by one. SSL server profile, we have SSL client profile. Okay, what client we have? SSL server. Okay, SSL server profile, because in our case Datapower is a server. Okay, so here let's discuss this thing, the protocols. Okay, the protocols, in the protocol we have SSL, TLS 1.0, 1.1 and 1.2. Nowadays we are enabling only TLS 1.1 and 1.2 due to security concern. So let's see what will happen if we are disabling the TLS 1.0, 1.2. okay, now the Datapower will be listen on the protocol SSL v3. so here protocol version is SSL v3. so let's see what will happen when our SSL version is v3. okay, because we don't know which version SOAP-UI is using while sending the request. So let's see what will happen. So here we are initiating the request. So we can see that here the SSL choose SSL v3, but that protocol version is not enabled or not supported by the client. So here SOAP-UI is sending the higher protocol, but Datapower is listening on SSL v3. Let's see what error we got in the Datapower. For that we'll click on view logs. So here we can see the wrong version number. Okay, SSL v3 get record wrong version, and we can see here that SSL peer did not send a certificate during the SSL handshake. Prior to that, it's failed with the wrong version number, because here we have SSL v3 on the Datapower, but so UI is sending with the higher protocol TLS version. Okay, so what we'll do here, first what shall we do for troubleshooting such kind of issues? We shall keep the log category as debug instead of error, but just make sure if you are debugging such kind of issue in the prod environment, don't enable debug log level for longer time. It may impact your Datapower performance. So if you are changing the log level as debug while troubleshooting the issue, just make it enable for the short time, and after that don't forget to disable it. Okay, so we are keeping for the timing as the debug. Okay, and we'll initiate request here. Okay, initiated and it's failed again, so let's see. Okay, so it's gave us the same error message, that the wrong version number. Okay, but later I'll show you that how log level debug will help us to troubleshoot the issues. I'll show you that thing also. Okay, so here now we'll enable that TLS version 1.0. okay, let's see. Okay, we'll enable one by one. Okay, again now it's not showing that it's failed with the TLS version, SSL version v3. We'll see in the logs as well. So here we can see that it's not showing the same error, that version mismatch, like that. Here we can see that certificate verify. Here we can see that this is our validation credential in which we uploaded our certificate. It's showing that certificate not trusted. The certificate not trusted because as I told you, I don't have the intermediate or root certificate, and this certificate is not signed by the verified authority. So that's why we got this message, that certificate not trusted. Okay, so and I want to show one more thing also. Okay, so here what is the thing, that in the validation credential there are few things to check. So here in my case it's this is match exact certificate. So exact certificate means it will validate the main certificate only. Okay, main certificate, but there are two options as well. Another one is match exact or immediate issuer. Exact certificate or immediate means it will validate, it may validate the intermediate and the root certificate, any of one. Okay, so if you enable this one and you are communicating with the server, so at that time it will either match the exact certificate or the immediate means intermediate or root certificate. But if you want to apply the more security, then you can enable this one. It means what will happen, that it will check check the complete chain every time. Here it's not the or condition, it's and condition, means it will check the main certificate, root certificate and intermediate. So as per your security norms, you can select the certificate validation mode accordingly. Okay, so we'll keep as it match exact certificate. Okay, okay, so as we don't have as I don't have the intermediate and root certificate, so it will not work for me. But we found the root cause why it was failing at our end when we are communicating with the Datapower, when Datapower is behaving as a server. So we initiate, just make sure this thing. Okay, So we got that. We can see that it's trying to validate the certificate. We can see there, this is the common name we can see, and this information you can see when you will click on the certificate and you will move to subject tab. At that time you can see that all this information, like what is the common name, what the country, state, and the location, like that you can see. Okay, so now let's move to the next use case. What is our next use case? We'll have a client SOAP UI, okay, and the Datapower will listen on the HTTP handler, okay, and the destination could be HTTPS with the validation or without validation. Okay, I tried to find a visitor in which I have HTTPS protocol. So I'll show you how we'll download the visitor. I'll show you how to create a web service proxy. In that I'll not go in more details how we'll create the web service proxy and what are the whole function. Just to understand the concept of this use case, I'll just make a small web service proxy and I'll show you where we'll configure the certificate. And first we'll try without the certificate, second we'll try with the certificate, so we can see in the logs means what will be the behavior when we are enabling the validation credential or when we are disabling the validation credential. So all I'll show you during this use case explanation. Okay, so let me show you how we'll download the visual and how we can save that visual file. Okay, so from here I found that visual. Okay, so you can go, so here I'll download the visual file. Okay, this is our visual file. Okay, so you can do one thing, just right click on, I'll share that visual link in my description, so you can use that, you can use the same visual file to download. You can use the same link to download that visual file. Okay, so I'll click on view page source. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll right click save as. I did so because here we can see that some information is available, so maybe your visual file is can be corrupt and it will not work as intended. So I'm using this way. So here you can click on save as. So in the save as you can mention it's global weather WSDL. Better the extension shall be WSDL, and here we'll invest. Okay, so we'll save it. Okay, that is fine. And the next thing I want to show you the certificate. Okay, so here this is the site graphicalweather.gov. So here are the certificate. I'll show you how we can use the certificate. Here you can see the certificate is valid. Certificate valid means, let's click on that and we can say that we can just go to certification path. Here you can see the certificate are signed by the DigiCert. You can see that is the root. If you go here, you can see the subject and valid issuer. You can see here the issuer is DigiCert. Okay, and in my previous videos I have showed you how we can download the certificate, the main certificate, issuer and root certificate. So by this certification path we can see that this certificate have complete chain. Sometime you will find the scenario in which you will get the root, intermediate and main certificate separately. Means the root certificate is one cert, intermediate will have the root and intermediate, and the main certificate that may don't have the complete chain like root or intermediate may don't have the chain of root certificate. So in that case you need to manually import, or you need to import all the three certificate. But if the certificate, as this certificate contains the complete chain root, intermediate and main, So that certificate is fine for us and we can use that one. Otherwise we need to upload all the 3 certificates. Okay, so I'll show you how we'll download this one. Okay, so we'll copy to file, so we are using this one. Okay, file name will browse, so here we'll mention global weather. .cr, or already it's showing you .cr extension, so you don't need to mention. Okay, so save it, finish, export was successful. Okay, now we'll close this one. Okay, I'll show you how we'll use this certificate. So for that, what we'll do, we'll create a small web service proxy. Okay. Okay, so I'll add web service proxy. Fine. As it's a SOAP service, so in the web service proxy you would need a WSDL file. So I'll show you how we'll upload this one. So in the local we need to upload the file. Okay, we need to choose the file. So here we have that global, yes, this is our global weather WSDL file. Okay, okay, continue. So you will find many times you will face some issue, then you will upload the visual. After uploading the visual, you will not able to see the WSDL file here, because sometimes it happens that visual file may have some reference of schema files, XSD file. So if you note, if visual file is unable to refer those files, so at that time you'll upload, but the visual will not be visible here. So you just make sure that visual file have a reference of all the schema file. Sometime one schema file may have reference of another XSD file, or that XSD file have another XSD file reference. So you just need to make sure that all references are in the place, so that your visual file shall work as intended. So in our case we can see that our visual file is uploaded successfully, because it contains all the XSD files reference. Okay, so we'll click on next. Now we can see that our visual file is uploaded successfully. So for that we need to mention a URI here, like after the Datapower IP address port number, we need to mention the URI, means that is the URI on which our application will be accessible. Okay, so for this we are keeping like global. Fine, global weather. And here we need to mention the listener, front side handler. Okay, so as I told initially, we'll keep front side handler as HTTP for this. Okay, so here we need to mention the port number on which this service will be listen. Okay, 4045. And as I told that get method is by default is disabled, so we need to enable it. So we'll check this option. As this is HTTP, so we don't need to mention any identification or relation credential, any crypto profile here, because this is HTTP. Okay, so here we need to mention the fetch name, fetch, that is HTTP, and we are keeping the name as global. Okay, so apply. Okay, after doing selecting this one, we need to click on the add button. Otherwise many times the changes will not reflect if you will not click on this button. Okay, and if you want to add something, you can click this image, pencil image. This is for if you want to edit, or you can click on this edit link. Okay, So this is fine. We'll move to next step. I'll show you in detail when we'll create the web service proxy. In detail, I'll tell you which all object we'll use. So after, we can see that we have one endpoint handler, and this is in up state and it's well configured. So now we'll move to policy. I'll not create a big policy. That's just small, just pass through only. So here we are not validating the request and response. For the time being, I am just disabling this one. Okay, so here I'll create a small rule, just so pass through only. So here it will be client to server. Later I'll explain all these details in my further videos, and what does mean of client to server, server to client, error both direction. I'll explain in my later video. So here we'll create a new rule. So this is the new rule. We are not using an XSLT. We are just kind of pass through only, no problem. Okay, so it's done. Okay, okay, so next step is proxy setting. So here we need to mention here in our case, Datapower is a client, okay, because as per this use case I showed you that Datapower is here working as a client. Okay, for this SOAP-UI, Datapower is server. So for server we mentioned the HTTP. Okay, so Datapower is listening on HTTP. But for the Datapower, this is the destination server which is listening on HTTPS. Okay, so for this server, while Datapower will communicate with this server, for that we need to configure the certificate here. So we mention the client profile because Datapower is behaving here as a client, and the certificate will be. So how we'll create this one? Okay, so where we GL SSL CP, okay, global weather, okay, global weather SSL SP. Okay, so here it's showing that valid server certificate. Okay, for first time what we'll do, we'll disable this one, and in the later I'll show you what will happen when we'll enable this one. In the first case, what will happen? Okay, let me choose. Yes, we have one identification credential what we created in our last video. So in that case, what will happen? It validate server certificate is disabled. So Datapower will initiate the SSL handshake session, but it will not validate the server certificate. Okay, so in the logs I will show you when we'll enable it, what kind of logs will be generated, and we'll see the information on those logs. Okay, so as of now, first time I am keeping it as off. Okay, so let me apply this one. Okay, we'll click on apply here. Okay, so okay, so our service is ready now for test. Okay, so what we'll do, let me check. Okay, visitor file, this is our global weather visitor file, and to check the listener we'll go here. So the port is 5045. Okay, so fine, what we'll do, we'll go to our SOAP-UI. Okay, I'll create a new project. So project, okay, so the project name is global weather test. Okay, we'll paste here. So the port is 5045 and the name is we need to mention the same URI which we mentioned here. Okay, so we can do one thing, we can copy here also, just so that there will be no spell issue. Okay, okay. And to download the visual, we'll do download visual. Okay, okay, we'll click on okay. You can see that if we are able to download the visual, there is some issue 5045. Let's see what is the issue here. Port is 5045 and this one. Okay, we'll try again. Okay, we mentioned HTTPS. Okay, but it's listening on HTTP. Okay, so if you'll not mention the correct protocol, it will not work. Okay, because this is on HTTP and we are trying on HTTPS. Fine. Okay, so we'll click on okay. You can see that it's worked. Okay, so I don't have the exact request message, but just for testing for this use case, we are opting any operation name. So here, okay, so to check in details what we'll do, okay, we'll go here and we'll see what will the impact and the logs here. Okay, better do this thing. What we'll do, we'll go here and we'll go to file management, because when the log level is debug, so more logs will be generated. Okay, so we'll go to log temp. Okay, and we'll click on here. Okay, so we'll see the logs here. Okay, so let's make first request. Okay, so we don't have any exact request message, we are keeping just global weather. Okay, so I am initiating the request now. Okay, so we got that it's failed. We'll see why it's failed. Okay, so we'll refresh it. Okay, okay, so handshake, see here. Okay, so what happening here, these are the current logs. So what happening when the SSL handshake is initiated, okay, initiated with this, but no certificate is validated. Okay, because we disabled the client certificate validation. So what will happen for this, it will not validate any certificates. Okay, so it's showing that it's not validating any certificate. So now what we'll do, we'll enable okay, we'll go here. Okay, we'll go to multi-protocol gateway. Okay, no, we have web service proxy, sorry. Okay, we'll go to that web service proxy. Okay, this is global weather. Okay, so proxy setting will go and we'll enable the validation credential. Okay, when we'll enable the validation credential, we need to upload the certificate. Okay, so we'll create, we are enabling here validate server certificate. Okay, so here we'll create one validation, global weather. Okay, it depends upon, if you want to create one validation credential for all the clients, you can create, or if you want to create the client specific validation credential, you can create. It's your wish. Okay, so for now for this use case, we are creating the service specific validation credential. So here we need to add the certificate. Okay, so we'll go here, we'll upload the certificate, gl cert. Okay, so we'll upload here, we already downloaded the certificate. Okay, So we have global weather certificate. Okay, we'll select. Okay. Okay, and as I told you, we shall enable the ignore expiration dates. Okay. Okay. Actually, what happening? They have HTTPS, but they didn't enable the client validation at their end. So that's why we are able to connect. Like in our case, Datapower or HTTPS, but until we are not enabling the client auth, Datapower was not validating the certificate. So similar cases with them. Okay, they didn't enable the HTTPS client authentication at their end. That's why we are able to communicate with them. So let's see. We enable this one. Let me trigger a request. Okay. So okay, it's failed. We'll see. Actual reason was failure. Okay, go here. Okay. So let's see. SSL Handshake. Okay. SSL. Certificate validation. Okay, we'll copy this one. So here we can see that here a certificate validate succeed for this CUS Maryland College, this one. Okay, this time as we enabled the validation credential, so this time it's validating the certificate. You can see here as per the current time, you can see that the certificate validation means here SSL Handshake is initiated, and we found that we have the same certificate with imported at our end. That's why we can see that it's a succeed for that side. So we can see by this way we can see that the validation credential is how it's behaving. If we are enabling the validation credential, so at that time it will validate the certificate. As I mentioned that though the site is on HTTPS, and we can see that here in the URL, see in the URL you can see that the site is on HTTPS. You can see here that that's the site is listening on HTTPS, but it's not validating the certificate. Okay, so when we are disabling the validation credential, there is no SSL handshake, and when we are enabling the validation credential, the SSL handshake session is started and it's validated the certificate, and here we can see that the certificate validation is successfully completed. Okay, so by this way we complete the use case 2 also. As I mentioned that I don't have the intermediate and the root certificate, so but still I try to cover more use cases, but as of now we have to implement two kind of use cases. Means if you want, you can you can download the data. I have already shared the Datapower OVF file. I have shared the VM files with you. So just try to do small POCs so that you'll able to learn Datapower. And if you have any issues for any videos, you can put your comments. You can put your comments with us. So if I need to make any more video for your specific topic, I'll try to create. Or if something is missed during this video, I'll try to cover those topics into next video. So friends, still if you didn't subscribe our channel, please subscribe it so that you will get and please don't forget to click on the bell icon so that you will get notification of newly uploaded videos. So I'll be continue to create new videos timely. Thank you guys for watching our videos, and stay healthy, keep doing exercise. Thank you guys, thank you very much.